Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 237 of the Well Done Life podcast. Welcome back to episode 237 of the Well Done Life podcast. Again, I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, how are you? I am so glad that you joined us this week. I hope that you will stay for a very long time. And if you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to support me. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, so thank you. Before we get started with this week's episode, it's really important for me to be really foundational. And for those of you that have listened before, I'm sure you probably could recite a lot of this with me, but it's really important for me that we set the intention of what we do here. And so this is a safe space. And when you create safe spaces, you kind of have to treat them like houses and make sure that your foundation is really strong. So I like to make sure that my foundation is built on two very core tenets, and that is clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I just want to make sure that you understand that I created the Well Done Life brand because I believe in the power of women. I believe in the power of us having spaces where we can be our most authentic self, where we can share the good and the bad of our journey, because I want others to be inspired by us. I also want other people to recognize that you don't have to make some of the same mistakes that some of us have made. You have the ability to utilize our experiences to help you be able to maybe set a different course. And so for me, it's sharing my journey, the good, the bad, the highs, the lows of it all, as well as spotlighting other women. That really resonates with my spirit because, again, this space is about safety. It's about love. It's about growth. It's about healing. It's about faith. It's about all those things. And so it is really important for me to walk it like I talk it. And that's what I do. So hopefully you will see that in everything that I do. And then that actually speaks directly to the second tenet, my favorite tenet, which is love, because everything that we do in this space is rooted in love. And so for me, it's very important that as I'm sharing my story transparently and spotlighting other women, I also am sending you prayers because I truly believe in the power of prayer. I don't think there's anything more transformative than prayer. And so I like to make sure, like I said, every week that I set this intention with prayers. And I've been standing on a few foundational ones because I just believe with everything that we have going on in life and just doing what it's doing, that we kind of need to stand on a couple of core tenets. So right now, my first prayer that I'm always going to stand on until I see that maybe I don't need to, but I feel like I might always have to, is I'm going to stand on the power of peace. I am praying for you to have peace. Life is coming at us very fast, and there are so many things that we have to navigate. I pray that you're able to find moments where you're able to have peace, where you're able to take a breath, where you're able to be good to yourself, because it is very challenging out here. And I really just want you to have those spaces for yourself. So I am praying that you have peace and that you are carving out times to breathe, because that leads right into my second prayer, which is clarity. It's really hard to get clear about things when you are not peaceful in your soul and your spirit, when you're not giving your body time to regulate. And with everything that you may be caused to handle or do, you need clarity. You need to be able to see things as they are versus how your mind may allow you to see it. Because let's all be honest, when we're experiencing high levels of emotion or stress, our minds are masterful storytellers. And sometimes what we're thinking does not align with what we're seeing, what we're encountering. And so you need to be able to give yourself peace so that you can have the clarity that you need to see things as they are and be able to make solid decisions. So I am praying for you to have clarity and peace. They go hand in hand, in my opinion. And then, of course, I'm actually always going to stand on love as well. For prayer, I really wish you love, and I wish you good reciprocal love. I'm talking about love from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And I want you to have that, not just in a romantic standpoint, but I also want you to have it in a friendship standpoint. I want you to have it in a relational standpoint. You deserve to be in spaces where you are loved, where you are valued. You don't need to dwell in spaces that don't honor that. And not that it's just about you being honored. It's also about you honoring the people in your life that you really love, that you really value. People need to know how you care about them, how you feel about them. Love on fire is reciprocal, and it is very important that you dwell in those spaces and that the people around you feel like you are capable of giving the love that they give and more. So place yourself in those positions. Reciprocal love is so important. Community, it's the key to community. You need to have that, and a good community is essential, because that community can wrap its arms around you when you need a hug. That community could be the one to help point you into the resources that you need when you have lack. That community will be the one to celebrate you when you win. That community will be the one to uplift you when you fall. So just make sure that you are creating those spaces so that you can have that and being that for other people. And then rounding out my prayers this week, I'm going to stand on this one as well for a while because I just feel like we need it. I'm always going to stand on prayers of abundance. And of course, I want you to be financially abundant. I want you to be a blessing for yourself so that you can be a blessing for others. But I want you also to remember to be abundant in your spirit. It is very important not to get caught up in the material trappings of life, but to remember that the moments that you are creating with the people that you love are creating wealth inside of you. And that is truly the highest level of wealth that is sustaining. And those things will keep you, and it all kind of flows together. Make sure that you are wealthy in your spirit as well. So those are my prayers for you this week. I'm very excited. I'm recording on Saturday, October the 25th. It's 11:39 a.m. I took a break last week, as a lot of you guys know. I went to homecoming. Yes, I am a graduate of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, fondly known as Florida A&M, FAMU for the alumni. Yes, I am an alum. I graduated in 1995 and I hadn't been back since 1996. And so I took a trip back and it was really special. And I want to talk about it. That's actually what we're going to talk about this week, believe it or not. Yes, I'm going to have a whole episode dedicated to homecoming, but, and maybe not in the ways that you thought, because I'll be honest, walking on that hill, feeling those feelings that I felt, seeing the beauty and the majesty, seeing the students and old alumni and friends and family that I hadn't seen, or people that I hadn't even met yet, it just really kind of reinvigorated me. And it made me think about, sometimes you got to go home. And how many of us are going and home? And I'm doing air quotes because, I know home is where you make it. Home is where the heart is. Home is relative to other people. But for me, in that moment of going back on the hill, I recognize that I'm home. And what does home feel like now, all these years later, versus what it felt like then? And what has it taught me about the value of taking moments to go back home and learning about home and valuing home? Because home changes, home evolves, home doesn't stay the same, just like we don't, and it shouldn't. But to go back there and feel like you never left, but then that you did leave, but that you're better now, is a whole different thing. So yes, let's talk about it. But before we dive in, I really want to thank everyone for their support of the previous episode, The Place of Waiting. I know that it was an interesting episode because it really talked about, the relationship between me and my mom and her season of where she is and waiting and being a caregiver and understanding that season. And I got some really good comments and feedback from people who are in the same situation. And, caregiving is a journey. It really is. And it's not the easiest journey. Some of us make it look really easy, but I can tell you behind the scenes, it is one of the hardest, most taxing things that you will ever do from an emotionally, spiritually, and physical place. And it is a lot on the soul, but it can be one of the most rewarding and most beautiful times. And so I just want to say for all of my caregivers, I hope that you know that you are doing your best, that you are being the best version of yourself for the person that you love, for that you are sacrificing for. And they know it and they see it. Even in the moments where they can't articulate that to you, they know it and see it. So you have to know and see it. Don't ever let yourself doubt who you are and what you've done. The magnitude of your sacrifice does not go unnoticed. It may feel like it sometimes, but it doesn't. And that you are loved and that you can honor other people's places of waiting while at the same time still honor yourself and the choices that they have made that require you to honor them. So I just wanted to say that. And if you'd like to check out the episode, Place of Waiting, it'll be in the show notes, or of course you can always find it. But like I said, this week we're talking about something a little different. We're talking about homecoming. And like I said, sometimes we have to go back to where it all began to remember who we are and where we are now. And so let's kind of talk about the fact that I hadn't been back on the hill since 1996. And that is the true, honest, real deal. I had not. I graduated in December of 95. I went back for homecoming in 1996. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm through. And it's just, I think that was really just youth and life. You know, I started to focus on, I got to get out here and get my money. I got to get out here and live my life. And when I left Tallahassee, I was filled with lots of dreams and goals and just my determination to make it. I think that's what we all have. And so I spent my time focused on that. And I'm very grateful that over the years, you know, I've been blessed to be surrounded by alumni in some form or fashion. One of my closest friends, she and I went to high school together, as well as went to college together. So yes, I have that deep connection. And my love is actually also an alum. That's where we met. We met when we were 19 years old and reconnected 30 years later. So of course, and he's strong to the bone about Florida A&M as well. And so it was nice. And he actually went back with me and my close friend. The three of us went back up for the day, and it was a vibe. It was just nice. I have to admit, like just from getting on the road to drive up to Tallahassee, I started to feel like this rumbling in my spirit. I kind of likened it to, you know, just this scene, and don't laugh at me, y'all, in The Color Purple, where Celie is getting ready to shave Mr. I know. Don't just flow with me. Just flow with me. And you know, she's sharpening the knife because, you know, he's really got on her nerves. She's contemplating cutting, but she doesn't do it. She doesn't do it. And Suge is out in the field painting her nails, and someone comes out, and after she asked the little child, where is Celie? And Celie was like, oh, she's fitting to shave Mr. Because of course I've seen the movie 811 times, so I have to speak in that way. So again, bear with me. But anywho, as she's running back, there's this music playing in Africa because her children are getting ready to go through their initiation. And, you know, there's a cut that is made on their face as a part of the tribe that they're living within. And you just feel the anticipation, the rush in your spirit, and the music, you know, just goes, I'm not going to sing the rest because I'm sorry, I'm just crazy like that. But again, you kind of bear with me, like you getting that rush. Like I got this rush back in my spirit that I hadn't felt in a while. You know, that feeling like, wow, I'm going back home. That feeling of joy, that feeling of anticipation, that feeling of not knowing what I'm going to see. And also contemplating, you know, all of the reasons why I never went back. Like I made tons of excuses, not necessarily excuses. You know, sometimes it wasn't just conducive with my mom and my sister and different schedules and demanding. Sometimes it was financial. Sometimes it was, I didn't feel like I had done enough to deserve to go back. That's a whole nother level of, you know, lack of self-esteem. Like I'm not as accomplished because, no offense, I went to Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, and many of our alumni are accomplished, you know, not giving myself enough credit for who I am, all the host of feelings. And then recognizing in that moment that I had this strength, that I had this power, that I had this desire to go back. And this just even getting on the road to going there was igniting it, was sparking it up. And so it was really good to, like I said, to get there. Just to get there felt so different because Tallahassee has truly changed since I went to school there. When I was there, the most we had in regards to restaurants were like Bennigan's, B. Merrill's, which was the best wing spot I'd ever had. And there was like a few other little side spots. There really wasn't a lot there. And then I'm riding into town and I'm like, wow, this like Tallahassee looks just like Orlando. Like, y'all have a lot of different stuff. And I was just trying to find my way. And then like us driving up toward the campus, I was like, oh my God. I remember like having to walk from campus down to the Civic Center and just seeing all the hotels now and all the development. I instantly felt like this pride in my spirit because, I mean, when I went to Florida A&M, it was a beautiful school, but there was so much potential, so much opportunity for increased development. And then to see here in 2025, the majesty that is my university, I just had this sense of pride, like the buildings weren't the same anymore. The air felt different. It just felt like I was walking back to what I knew, but walking into something so much more. And I was like, wow, the first thing that I said to myself is, I've been away too long. I've been away too long. And so like we parked and we got everything situated. My love, he's in a fraternity. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. So he was so enthralled to be back and see his fraternity brothers. And just full disclosure, he hadn't been back since 1999. So again, both of us had spent way too much time away. And so he was hanging out and my friend and I, we just were like walking. And she was giving us a tour because my friend is loyal. My friend Katie goes every year to homecoming. And she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So she's like with her sorority sisters too when she goes. And so she's giving me the grand tour. And I'm like looking at this university. I'm like, oh my God, my old dorm is gone. All the things, like everything has changed. And it's stunning. My breath was taken at how beautiful my school is. And in that moment, I felt so grateful because I was like, we crawled, we suffered, we sat in rooms that were the size of prison cells so that these children can now have an opportunity to live better. I felt accomplished. I know that sounded super dramatic, but hey, you had to have been there back in the 90s. It was a different time, let me tell you. And looking at it now, I was like, wow. And we went to the bookstore, to the cafeteria. I know this sounds petty, but I have to talk about it. They have Wingstop and Smoothie King. Back in my day, honey, we had a cafeteria and we just had like a little orange room. That's what they called it, the orange room, where you could go and get pizzas and stuff like that. And you thought you were doing a thing. I'm sitting up in here like, these kids have Wingstop. They got Chick-fil-A on campus, Smoothie King, like name brands, not like knockoffs. And I'm just like, wow. And the bookstore has all these beautiful things, and the beautiful clothing are by Nike. They got affiliations with Nike up in this thing. I was like, what? Look at my university coming on strong. And then we have a beautiful museum area called the Black Archives. And the Black Archives are just some of the historical artifacts and knowledge of our university, but also of Black history. And it was a little home before when I was there in the 90s. Now to look at it as a beautiful 3-story museum with all different types of exhibitions and sponsorships. Like Mael Organics has an exhibition currently going on within it. And it was stunning and beautiful to see with the elevator, child. Back in the day, we were going up some narrow steps trying to make it work. Them steps is closed off now and you can get in the elevator. I was like, what? My university is doing it. I know y'all are probably laughing, but I'm talking about the fact of how much progress has happened in so much time being passed through in over 20 years, about 30 years, and then looking at how far we've come. I was full of pride, so full. And they had just opened the statue that was dedicated to the president when I was there, Dr. Frederick Humphreys, and to see Dr. Humphreys at the center because he fought so hard to put the university on the trajectory that it is. I had so much pride. And again, the only thing I kept thinking is I've been away too long. Totally been away too long. And long story short story long, and funny moment, the hill reminded me physically that I've been away too long. Back in the day, boy, walking up and down the 7 highest hills, it was a lot easier when I was in my, late teens, early 20s. Now at 52, it's a whole different experience, and it requires me to be extensively hydrated. And I was not, so let's just say it was a moment, but we made it through. But it just reminded me, I hadn't been home enough, but I'm going to be home again enough. But again, it was just beautiful. And when I was walking, I felt myself being who I was back then, reminding myself that I am still that woman who had lots of goals and lots of dreams and lots of adventures. And I can't let life make me forget who I was. For you see, when I went to school, I was very ambitious about who I was and what I was going to do. But I was still very conflicted. I literally could not decide what I was going to do. I went to school okay, I'm either going to be a doctor or I'm going to be a lawyer. That was it. I was a doctor or a lawyer. And for the first half of my education, I was biology pre-med. I went 2 years full biology pre-med because I wanted to be a doctor. I love medicine. I love the sciences. I just don't like math. Math doesn't like me. And so I lost my faith in myself. And I was like, I got to get out. And so I switched over in my second year and went to summer school ever since then for political science. And I have no regrets. And I love political science. I just decided not to go to law school because I'll be honest, I got caught up in working and making money and living, and I put it off, and I never went back. And so that's kind of led me into different paths where I am now. And I have no regrets. I love business. My father actually used to tell me that he felt I was going to be more suited to business. I feel like Poppy just was like more forethought than I had. But ultimately he was like, no, I think you should be a business person or a politician. And I was like, ooh, I don't know. So that didn't materialize. Business person, yes. Politician, But that's a whole nother story. But again, I'm really telling you guys this because I want you to think about when in your life did you give yourself a chance to go back home? And because even though, yes, I had a wonderful time on the hill and I made lots of beautiful memories, one of the greatest things that I did for myself during that time was go back home and remember who I was. It reminded me that coming home back to fam was just not about being on the physical campus, but it was about experiencing the energy of Florida A&M. It was about experiencing the energy of who I truly am, because I'm evolving. And I've talked about, obviously, my physical evolution. Losing weight wasn't about, wanting to get to a certain number. Losing weight for me is about tapping into the woman who is inside of me, who is healthy and strong and focused. And as I've lost weight, I have felt more and more like myself every day. And it wasn't just losing the weight physically, but it was losing the weight mentally. It was making a decision to choose me, making a decision to recognize that I am worth this extra time. I am worth this season that I'm in, that I have to come back home to me. I have to tap back into who I am in regards to my values. I have to tap back in regards to my purpose, and that I am enough. And I've always been enough. I just never allowed myself to fully realize it. And in that moment, when I was walking on the hill, when I was taking moments to sit by myself, I remembered who I was. And I just want to pose to you, how often are you giving yourselves moments to go back home and to tap back in to who you are? because we need it. We do. And you can call it so many different things, but essentially it's a reset. It's a reset opportunity that we have to give ourselves. And for me, going to homecoming was a reset moment. I needed it. When I went to go last week, I was so stressed out. We at work, unfortunately, we had a restructuring, and I lost several people on my team to this restructuring. So having to go through that, even though I understood the nature of it, it was still very hard, because you never want to see people in a position where they are displaced from their job. Because I've been displaced from my job. I know how that feels, and it's a horrible feeling. And especially now, things are so uncertain. And so I was carrying that energy in, and just on top of it, also just trying to carry in the energy of, worrying about my mom and thinking about my sister and just so many different things. I felt a little heavy. I needed it. And I was going in to have a good time. I was excited about having a good time, but I wasn't feeling like my best. And so going on the hill gave me an opportunity to kind of put that to the side for a moment. It gave me an opportunity to dial back into me. It gave me an opportunity to feel that 19-year-old who used to walk these hills, who used to run through the set, who used to dance on the set, who used to go to the parties and sit in the library for hours and read books. I used to sleep in that library too, boy, in between classes. It gave me a chance to be free. Gave me a chance to be free. I'm just going to say it because it's the truth. Because one of the things that people don't talk about as you're adulting is the chains that come with adulting. And let's be real, it's chains, it's limitations. And it's not necessarily sometimes limitations placed on you by life and circumstances. It's the chains and limitations that you place on yourself because of the responsibilities that you have. Whew. Ain't that a word? That's a word right there. It's not the chains and limitations that life necessarily puts on you. It's the chains and the limitations that you put on yourself because of the weight of the responsibilities that you carry. And I needed a moment to let those responsibilities go. I needed a moment to not have to worry about everyone else and to just be. And in that moment, I got a chance to just be. And it was exactly what I needed. It was an exact opportunity to feel me again. And I want you to take those moments to feel you again. Because again, it's sometimes us. And so in moments where we need breaks, God sometimes can align you where you have a divine reset. And sometimes you don't need something new. You just need to reconnect to something old. Or you just need to reconnect to you. Because, we spend so much time trying to chase the next thing, trying to level up. But when do we take enough time to check it back in with our spirit, And when you do go back to your people, to your beginnings, to your truth, it can be recalibration. And it was wonderful in that moment to be recalibrated because I felt grounded when I left. It gave me a chance to see that I never was lost and I never was forgotten. I just was being led back to where I needed to be. I was being led back to me. I was being reminded that I can do anything that I set my mind to. It may take me longer than what I'd like, but I can still do it. It may not look the way that I thought it will look, but it still will get done. You catch what I'm saying? Sometimes you need those moments to see. And I have to admit, even just walking around the campus, just seeing the students, seeing everything reminded me of that too. Because again, like I mentioned, when we started, it looked so different. And now to see the evolution, and it's over 30 years since I was there. But to see where they are now to where I used to be, I'm like, wow, look at the progress. And it always has taken time. It has not been an easy fight. It's never easy, especially for historically Black in colleges and universities. It is a fight. And that's a whole different thing. I can get on a whole soapbox about the lack of funding, lack of support, all those things. But to see where we have come as Rattlers, as a university, I am proud. And I am reinvigorated because it reminds me to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep striving, to keep living, and to never forget where I came from. And so I wanted to encourage you to think about where in those moments for yourself, you might need that reset. You might need to go back home. You might need to take a moment just to see how far you've come and give yourself some gratitude for that. And just to recognize that all things are working, even when it doesn't seem like it. And so, yeah, it felt really good. It felt grounding. It was wonderful. I got a chance also to see that type of, recognition, that resetting back to home in my love. My love got a chance to see his family on his father's side, and he hadn't seen them in so long, and they were just so welcoming to him. Just for him, I was like, it doesn't even feel like y'all have let any time pass, but he hadn't seen them since his father's passing, unfortunately, back in 2020. And so I'm like, wow, it's amazing that you've lost that much time, but that it felt like you didn't lose that time. Again, it's sometimes being surrounded by those people who make you feel like time just never passed. Like they were always there. And they were. It was just you didn't recognize it because maybe during the time that you guys were not as close again, you weren't as reconnected. God let them just be there in spirit and energy, but he didn't reconnect you until he needed you. I know that might sound confusing, but it's true. Sometimes God doesn't allow, he gives us the people that we need when we need it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. That is what I'm trying to say. I'm just not saying it in a clear way. He gives you the people that you need when you need it. And in this season of his life, he said you need them. So it's time to go back home. And it was so beautiful to see. And like when he hugged his uncle, the love that was in that hug, the energy was so beautiful. I felt instantly when I saw it, I said, he's home. And so again, it just reminded me of how you never can stray too far from home. It's always good at times to go back home, to remember who you are, to be surrounded by the people that love you, to lean in to who God brings forth in your circle, because God is so intentional that he knows when you need to recalibrate. He knows when you need those instances back. Lean into them. Lean into them. Who are we to question what God wants for us? God always wants more for us than we can want for ourselves. And so we have to be willing to see that. So I wanted to talk about it. I mean, there's definitely lots of other memories I can share, but I wanted to kind of focus on the fact that I think some of us might need to take a moment to reset, a moment to go back. So if you've been feeling untethered, if you've been questioning your direction, maybe it's time for your own homecoming. Go back to where you first believed. Yes. Go back to what first gave you joy. Go back to the you that existed before the world told you who you had to be. Yes. And because home isn't just a place, it's a feeling, it's a knowing. It's the sacred reminder that you are both the seed and the bloom. Go home and welcome home to who you are. So I wanted to kind of share a little closing quote for you, just to think about. Growth may take you far, but your roots will always lead you home. Because no matter how far you get, there's going to be that pull, that yearning, that desire at times to remind you, and your root is always there, and you are always welcomed, even when you feel like a fish out of water. Don't feel like a fish out of water. Allow yourself to just absorb into the moment and go home. Go home to where you are loved. Go home to where you are inspired. Go home to where you are valued. Go home to you. So that is my episode. I hope that I inspired you to think about what you need. And if you decide that you need to go home, that you will give your space to go home. And that you will, just think about what I said. And if you're feeling untethered, I understand. Please know it will pass. So I hope that like I said, gave you a little bit of inspiration. And I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm going to have all my social information in the show notes. And I hope that you are enjoying your Sunday. Please take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.